Hey guys, the question of talking about 5 stars and making a tier list for them, it keeps reoccurring from time to time. So here we go, it's finally time. Starting off with DK, I have to put her straight up into the D tier. It hurts me a little bit, I love DK, but she is hit by power creep. Like, she is, the main thing she does is she provides heal to your team. That heal is very weak, doesn't hit the numbers anymore. She can also do a considerable amount of damage, but also like the numbers there, they just don't add up anymore, and DK is heavily outclassed with everything that she does, even in the context of 5 stars, and that's why she is unfortunately ranked so low. Then we have Barbara, who's better, and she's put into the C tier. Now the C tier is for characters that are very good, very usable, very slottable, and just solid overall, but they don't have anything special to them. Their numbers are not the highest. There is no unique ability that only these characters have, you know, this kind of stuff. And Barbara falls perfectly into this category. Yeah, she's very slottable. Every team profits from having shields on their team, and that's what Barbara is all about. She also has a little tiny heal attached to when she channels her ultimate, but yeah, again, then for older characters, quote unquote older characters, their numbers, they just don't add up anymore, but she's very solid and very slottable. That's why she's better than DK, for example. Next up we have Name Day, and that's our first S ranking 5-star character. His numbers, they do in fact are better. Like, usually, if we look at his buff incantation as is a very good example, then we have other characters in this game that have the same kind of buff as Name Day has, but other characters, they increase the stats, like for example the critical hit rate by 15%, or the damage taken reduction by 15%, you know. Name Day does this, but with 20% increase. And overall, his support ability for characters that excel at using the ultimate ability is very strong, and this is one of the best 5 stars in the entire game, so that's why he belongs into the S tier. Since I just mentioned the numbers from Name Day's buff incantation, let's talk about a character that falls into this category, which is Sonetto. Now, Sonetto also has a buff. She increases the damage that your team deals, and she decreases the damage that your team tanks by 15%, you know? That's what I meant. Name Day has a buff that increases crit and something else, I'm not sure what else, by 20% though, which is obviously better. But Sonetto still makes the A ranked, because she has everything, right? She is, you never make a mistake putting Sonetto in your team. Her buff is still very good, because yeah, everyone does 15% when we talk about 5 stars, so that it holds up. Then she has something very unique that no other 5-star character has attached to her, which is her disarm ability, and she still has the one of the best ultimates if we talk about damage output in the game in the context of 5-star characters. So the numbers here, for her ultimate at least, they hold up more than well. So again, she has something unique with disarm. Her buff incantation still holds up in terms of numbers, and her ultimate even exceeds the usual numbers concerning 5 stars. That's why Sonetto has to be ranked still pretty high here. Then we have a character like Blonnie that is perfectly made for how I explained the C tier, because yeah, she is solid. She deals a respectable amount of damage thanks to having a lot of crit, providing a lot of crit, but that's it. There's nothing special to her, nothing that stands out, just solid damage because of high amounts of critical hit rate. That's it. That makes her kind of slottable, because yeah, crit is always good, providing damage is it's always, everything about her is always solid if we talk about 5 stars, right? So perfectly made, just as Barbara for the C tier. Then we have a character Ulu. She excels at providing burn, but then that is our first F tier, and the F tier is for what I call our babies, because the numbers are laughably low. The team building around her with her burn mechanic is more than awkward, you know. The amount of burn stacks she inflicts is alright, but again, the numbers here are just so laughably low, and the team building around her is so awkward that, but it's really a character you should forget. It's one of the, not the number one worst, but one of the worst characters in the entire game. Next up, let's talk about Kanjira. That falls almost into the same category as Ulu does. What Kanjira excels at, so to speak, is providing poison. The poison stacks that she provides are really the bare minimum. She provides 1 stack, you know, and under specific circumstances it can be 2 stacks of poison, you know, like it's really, then her numbers are like below average as well. Her rotations are very, very awkward to play because of her inside 1. And yeah, I mean, this is almost an F tier. What makes her a little bit better and why she deserves a little bit of a higher ranking than Ulu is the team building around her. With the poison is just better in terms of team building than the burn would be. But I mean, honestly, Kanjira, this is almost an F. Yeah, I will actually give her the F tier because, while yeah, the poison is a little bit better than burn because of team building, but her inside 1 is just so incredibly trash. I can't put her into the same tier as DK. It's impossible. So Kanjira is also one of our babies and belongs into the F tier. Moving on to the character X. Now, he's also, just like the C tier, very, very solid in terms of what he does and his numbers, you know. Overall, solid character. What makes him better than the characters in the C tier is the fact that he has this something little special about him, which is the ability to reduce the enemy's moxie. That's simply about it. That makes him very useful in certain content, and yeah, useful here and there, even in Reveries in the Rain. And Barbara and Blondie cannot say that about themselves, so that's why X is a little bit, tiny little bit better and special, you know. Alright, then let's fill our C tier up a little bit more with a character like Lorelei, for example. Also very, very good characters. Everything about her is solid. What she excels at though is the fact that she provides an actual huge amount of crit. If played correctly, she provides 40% critical hit rate to the entire team. That is, speaking about 5 stars, very, very good actually. That would deserve technically a higher rank than C, because the numbers here exceed what 5 stars normally would provide. But the problem with Lorelei is that this increase in critical hit rate for the entire team, that is literally all she does, you know. There's nothing unique about her, nothing special about her, except for, yeah, the number when it comes to this critical hit rate increase. But she has nothing else going for her, and that makes her quote unquote just solid, you know. Yeah, and there we go. Very, very good character, make no mistake. She's very slottable, no team hates her, every good damage dealer loves this 40% crit increase. But yeah, nothing special, right? So that's why she's also in this C tier. Then Another C tier is Balloon Party. Now, yeah, she provides damage reduction and she is a healer, but then again her numbers they just don't make the cut anymore. And she also, like I said, is just solid with low numbers and has nothing special about her, right? But in terms of healing and the overall sustainability that she provides to your team is pretty solid. And again, if I use the word solid, I put a character into the C tier. On to the character Jenisei. Now that's a clear S tier, because in terms of overall survivability that Jenisei provides to your team, she heavily outclasses every other 5-star in this game. That is because she provides heal, she provides shields, she gains herself Moxie to provide these shields constantly, her numbers are really good, and she provides also stacks of sturdiness and all of that stuff. Everything that your team needs to survive, Jenisei provides all of this stuff better than anyone else would, and that's why she is in our S tier. Okay, then on to our beloved sweetheart. Now, she's really bad. Also, like, her numbers are really low, laughably low. That's what the F tier is all about. And she even is a little bit, I would even say she's worse than Ulu and Kanjira, because her ultimate is just so garbage. It's a little tiny wannabe heal. Like, it's almost non-existent even. There's nothing special about her. Her numbers are trash, her ult is trash, just a completely forgettable character. Like, this is something really, truly unplayable. Then we have Charlie. Charlie is really respectable. This is one of the best damage dealers you can have, right? If you look for a 5-star character that deals damage, then Charlie is actually one of your best choices. And his or her, excuse me, I don't know. Considering his name is Charlie, I would call him a he. His ultimate also dispels all buffs from the entire enemy team altogether. So that's very respectable, and that's why he is A. Then we have the character Horrorpedia, which is perfectly made for the C tier. He has actually like good numbers. His numbers are a little bit higher than from some other 5-stars, and he also has the ability to dispel buffs from an opponent. So pretty good. Again, like, very solid. Lacks this little bit of specialty though, something that makes him like truly unique. But this is a very good character. It's a solid, good 5-star character. Alrighty, then we have Satsuki, and yeah, again, as many 5-stars, she is just solid, you know. Okay numbers, they hold up in terms of 5-stars, but she has this rigidity. She petrifies opponents here and there, right? So that saves her from the D tier, this petrify thing that can come in very handy, and makes her a quite viable slot into most teams, right? Having this petrify here and there can buy you some time, and her numbers are also solid, so that's why she's in C tier. Then we have the character Brimley, who is, as well as Charlie, one of the best DPS characters in terms of 5-stars that you can have. He also has this ability that he can make his main DPS or his sub DPS, however you want to slot him in, make them use their incantations, both of them, number 1 and number 2, actually for free if you play him right. Now this is a character, like when we speak about 5-stars, that is a little bit more on the complicated side when it comes to how to play him. So you actually have to play him to his maximum efficiency, but if you do, he is kind of a monster. So that's why he belongs into this A tier. And now we're gonna address our 5-star god, and that is Buddy Fairchild. He is I should make a god tier for this tier list, and that's where this squirrel would belong, because if you look at the numbers of this guy, the amount of damage that he deals is ridiculous. He even outclasses a lot of 6-star characters when it comes to his damage output. He's like by far the biggest and best damage dealer for 5 stars, right? Again, as I said, even 6 stars, they have quite a difficult time to actually hold up to this Buddy Fairchild character. And he's also very, very good when it comes to team building. There are a lot of characters that excel at providing like ultimate might and supporting characters that excel at using their ultimate. For example, Name Day, you know? Like if we ever would get the content, which I'm praying for, that bans 6-star characters and we can only use 5-star characters and below in this content, then Buddy Fairchild and Name Day, they will be the match made in heaven, and they will make up the best 5-star team in the entire game. So yeah, Buddy Fairchild outclasses every other 5-star character like by a crazy amount. You can't even compare him with other 5-star characters, honestly. He should be a 6-star. He could be a 6-star and no one would complain about that. Okay, then we have the character Click. Now he's the exact same story as DK. Look, DK, she can't make up her mind. Does she want to be a damage dealer or does she want to be a healer? And the result of that is that she tries to do both things, but just kind of. Both things end up being lackluster, and she doesn't excel at anything. Same for Click. He can't make up his mind if he wants to be a damage dealer, or if he wants to be a support that provides damage taken reduction. And the result is as well, both things end up being lackluster, and therefore they are in D. Then we have a character like Diggers. Now he is also one of the worst characters in the entire game. He just is outclassed in every single department. The numbers on his incantation number 2 don't add up. His ultimate is really, really bad. Like for example, he inflicts nightmare onto one target, while why don't you just play Baby Blue that inflicts nightmare on the entire enemy team, you know? Then his incantation is complete ass, and yeah, the number, as I said, for his incantation number 2 is too low. Like pretty much unplayable. There's never a reason that you would ever play Diggers for anything, right? And yeah, that's why he's F. Then we have Becornbloom, and yeah, this is the same story. Her numbers are solid across the board, like a C tier character, but Becornbloom has this special thing that sets her apart with her ultimate, and that inflicts seal onto an opponent for 3 turns. One of your opponents cannot use their ultimate for 3 turns. That is incredibly good, and that makes her viable. And some stages, some content is, thanks to her ultimate, cheesable with her. And yeah, that makes her, just as X and Baby Blue, something special, and therefore she deserves a higher ranking than at C tier. Now her numbers are not impressive as like the numbers of a Brimley, a Charlie, or even a Sonetto, right? That's why she's an A, but she has this little something special that sets her apart. And then we can move on immediately to Necrologist and put her also in A. Here again, like the numbers are solid across the board. She has not only this very special thing of making her allies be able to revive thanks to her ultimate. No, she also is able to dispel buffs from the entire team, from an enemy target, right? Dispel the buffs. So that makes her have something special about her. she has a little extra bonus added onto this special thing, and her numbers are solid. So Necrologist is a very good character that everyone should have at their disposal, at least. Yeah, then now we have to talk about someone that is very special, and that is Mr. Duncan. Now this guy is probably most likely the worst character in the entire game. His numbers are the worst I have ever seen. Even his ultimate, that is a one target attack, and those have to deal 550 damage. His does 500. Then his incantation number 2, which hits 2 enemies, that should deal at least 130. It deals 70. No other character in this game that has a damage incantation deals 70% damage. That is the lowest number in the entire game. I haven't seen a number that low anywhere. His incantation is complete ass. He doesn't do anything but extremely underwhelming damage. Like, this guy is the definition of unplayable, and he shouldn't even be here on this list, but I put him here to tell everyone how bad he is and to make a little bit fun of him. Like, this guy is the definition of trash. Now, talking about Desert Flannel, I have to correct a little tiny mistake that I made here. When we talked about Sweetheart, I said she has this ultimate that is this little tiny wannabe heal. That's not Sweetheart. That actually belongs to Desert Flannel. My bad, I'm sorry. But that doesn't change Sweetheart in any way. She's an ultimate that deals 400% damage and inflicts daze for 1 round on 1 target. That is still complete ass. It doesn't hit a number of 550. It doesn't even do like 400, it does 400. It is way too low, and this 1 round of daze onto 1 target with an ultimate, completely forget about this trash, right? But it gets even worse here with Desert Flannel, because that is actually the ultimate I meant, where this is a little tiny wannabe here. And then Desert Flannel is way more awkward than just that. Her incantation number 2 doesn't hit the numbers. It should hit for 200%, it hits only for 180. Her incantation number 1 literally doesn't do anything, just like her ultimate. And then she has this weird and awkward thing of providing a little tiny baby bit support to Beast Afflatus characters specifically. Like, whoa, she is like, it's either her or Mr. Duncan that is the worst character in the game. I would give the cake to Mr. Duncan, but Desert Flannel isn't much better here. Like, woo. Actually, let's talk about this battle between Mr. Duncan and Desert Flannel a little bit. Okay, both of their incantations, they don't do anything. Then the incantation number 2 of Mr. Duncan deals 70% damage. Desert Flannel here deals at least 180. That is also not hitting the numbers, but that is way more than double of what Mr. Duncan does. The problem is, Mr. Duncan has at least an ultimate that does some considerable damage here, while Desert Flannel's ultimate doesn't do anything. They both have trash insights. So yeah, what it comes down to is that Mr. Duncan deals more damage with his ultimate, while Desert Flannel's ultimate doesn't do anything. But then incantation number 2 of Mr. Duncan doesn't do anything, while Desert Flannel deals a little bit of damage here, you know? So I think dealing at least a little bit of damage with incantation number 2, that is a little bit more consistent than dealing damage only with the ultimate. So that's why. And also Desert Flannel has an insight, gives her a little bit of crit damage, right? It increases her crit rate by like 15% or something like that. So she has a potential to even crit with that incantation number 2. And Mr. Duncan's insight is complete ass. So that's why I would say Mr. Duncan is the worst character in the game, and Desert Flannel is only the second worst character in the game. But okay, now let's move on. Let's move on to Loggerhead. That is, of course, an S tier. She has very, very good numbers. For example, ultimates that hit the entire enemy team, they usually deal 300% damage whenever a 5-star does one of those mass attack ultimates. Loggerhead does this for 400% damage. Then she provides a whole plethora of considerable debuffs. She inflicts poison, she inflicts a huge amount of burn stacks, she inflicts rigidity, and she is also one of the best healers when we talk about 5 stars, right? And her poison stacks, they go way further than just this one tiny little cute stack that Conjurer provides, right? Like, she provides burn and poison and rigidity in a serious manner as one of the best healers in terms of 5 stars. So that makes her outclass and be better than most other 5 stars, and that's a clear S tier. Then we have Avgist. Now this is almost an F tier because his numbers are so teeny tiny and stuff, but he actually does, he has a little bit of support, right? He provides sturdiness here and there. He even has the ability to cleanse buffs, yeah, believe it or not. And he is a healer, he provides stacks of cure and stuff, you know. And yeah, a little bit of support here and there with teeny tiny numbers, but he's better in terms of everything that he does. He provides a plethora of things, and it is just better than everyone in the F tier. A little bit better than everyone in the F tier. Those guys, like one stack of poison, that's what you do, and you have low numbers. No, stacks of cure and sturdiness and a little bit here and there of other things, you know, that's better than a stack of poison, you know what I mean? So that's why Avgist, yeah, his numbers are so incredibly low that he's almost F tier, but not quite, right? Because for reasons that I just explained. Alright, then on to our last 2 characters. One of them is Tenant. That's a clear C tier. Yeah, she's a good C tier, right? Because thanks to her having her Euphoria update, her numbers are, yeah, quite good. She provides a good amount of shields and she is pretty AP friendly as well. But the problem is with everything, like, she's solid, right? But the problem is she has nothing that is like truly makes her special. She's just pretty much on the level of a Barbara. She's a little bit more AP heavy than Barbara because Barbara has her channel with her ultimate, but Tenant is in what she does, yeah, more effective than Barbara, even though she doesn't have that heal and stuff. So yeah, they are kind of similar. Tenant does more damage though, and her shields are also a little bit better, right? But yeah, like she is good, but it is not enough for B. But if you would move any character here from the C tier up, then it would probably be Tenant. Then last but not least, we have Le Source. That is also a pretty respectable healer. Especially she is the best healer for new players. Everyone gets access to her very, very early, and she's one of the best characters that you can use in like the first week or 2, right? And she also has this something little special about her, because her ultimate takes off every single Moxie on your enemy, -5 Moxie for the enemy. That is pretty incredible, and that makes her be able to help to cheese some content in the game. Even in Reveries, I used her to great succession, you know. If you face content and you have an opponent where you have to at all cost deny him from using his ultimate, then the source actually comes in clutch. Same reason why the Bloom is so clutch, right? They have very, very good ultimates that prevent your enemy from using the ultimate. Together, your enemy will never use their ultimate. So yeah, and that's the ranking. Now I have to talk a little bit more about this tier list, because this is taken to be with at least a little bit of a grain of salt. Like, some things are, of course, there's a lot of stuff here that is set in stone, you know, like Buddy Fairchild, Jenny Say, Name Day, you know, like this kind of stuff, the B tier. But when it comes to these 5-star characters that we don't use regularly, they are not part of like the meta game, they are not used in the most difficult content in the game, you know, then for these characters right here, it depends a little bit on which way you want to go with them. You can apply the amount of respect you give to something a little bit differently. For example, this B tier here, those are all characters, those are 5 stars or below even, that they not really excel, but they can be used in the most difficult content in the game. And a Sonetto, for example, that is a tier higher, is never used and can never be used and should never be used in any hard content in the game whatsoever. So if you want to put a lot of emphasis and a lot of value onto this fact that characters that are used in Reveries should be higher ranked than characters that will never be used in Reveries, right? Then that is a very reasonable way to look at this kind of stuff as well, you know. Then these characters here like Lesource, Bloom, they would actually be S tier, and you would then have to remove a character like Name Day and Loggerhead. You have to remove them. Even Jenny Say, right? You would completely change the S tier depending on how much value you put on different things, you know. What I've been going for here is more of the route of how much of a powerhouse is a character actually, you know. Like I have put a lot of emphasis onto numbers and overall viability for kind of new players. But you see, then again, there is a problem that arises here, because if I put a lot of value onto accessibility and how good a character would be for new players, then I cannot put Loggerhead and Name Day into the S tier. Or even Buddy Fairchild is not even on a global version yet, so what is he doing in the S tier? You know what I mean? These characters are locked behind bad banners. You would have to pull for Liang Yue to obtain Loggerhead, maybe. You would have to pull for Hisabeth to obtain Name Day, maybe. And Buddy Fairchild is not even in the global version yet. So what are these characters doing in the S tier? You know, you could also say that, and it would actually be reasonable, you know what I mean? And yeah, those are just like 2 reasons real quick why this tier list has to be taken with a little bit of grain of salt, and you can change the tiers up here based on how much value you put on what things, you know. So there are here in this case, in this tier list, you can look at this tier list in many different ways. That is very, very different from the 6-star characters, where actually they matter and things are throughoutly tested and everything is set in stone, you know. That is not the case here for this 5-star tier list. As I just explained, 2 reasons, right? There's a little bit more going on here, but I mean, yeah, that's about it, you know. Like another example, just real quick, if you say like, hey, 5-star characters, they are not meta, like veterans and like top tier players, they will not use these characters other than in very, very specific circumstances and very, very specific stages, right? And then only once and then never again, right? And then you can put a lot of emphasis on characters that we get for free pretty early on, like DK. That would then raise her rank, right? I've been going for numbers and how good they would actually perform if we would get content in which we can only use the 5-star characters, and we would need to be able to build teams made out of 5-star characters, and then how good are the numbers, how much of a powerhouse, and what abilities these characters provide. That's the route I was going for here. But if you want to take this a different route, you can feel free to do that, right? Take this with a little bit of grain of salt. And that's all I wanted to tell you guys. I hope this video was fun and informative. If you like Reverse1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, join the Discord server, and we love this game.